Hey, loves. So, for everything, there is a season. We experience seasons in our age groups. Like when you turn 18, again, when you turn 21, when you turn 30, so on and so forth. There are 4 seasons in a year, supposedly. I know lately it doesn't feel that way. And our walk with Abba Yahuwah is no different. We experience seasons with him, but what happens as you move from one season to the next? What happens during the transition? Let's get into it. We've always been taught to pay attention to the season that we're in, which is great advice. We really should pay attention. So you might be asking, well, why do I need to pay attention to the transitions in my life? And that's what we're actually going to talk about. Knowing how to recognize a transition will save you a lot of anguish. Trust me, I've experienced this and I can attest to that. During transitions, you start to feel drained doing the tasks you previously have done. And the people, places, and things that you are normally used to may start to seem unappealing to you. You may even have a strong urge to isolate yourself. And while these feelings resemble depression, they are different in the fact that you actually have a desire to spend more alone time with Abba. So your desire for him and your intimacy with him increases. That's actually Yahuwah drawing you into him so that you can rest while he works. Isn't that amazing? Spending more time with Abba Yahuwah during a transition is crucial because you're vulnerable during this time. There is a potential for you to give up during this time, and the enemy knows this, so the attacks will increase. Just so you know, they will increase. It's actually ideal to fast during a transition because you'll receive instructions from Yahuwah for the next season in your transition. And praise and worship is also crucial. You can't leave these things out, okay? You'll also begin to notice things about yourself that don't look like Abba Yah. It's time, when you see these things, it's time for you to hand that stuff over to him, okay? So that's stuff like selfishness or anger or greed or, doubt, so on and so forth. Start handing that stuff over to him. Yahuwah is transforming you with his Ruach, and your flesh is going to resist. So you're going to start to see more of this stuff. Don't freak out. Don't flip out. Just understand it is part of the transition, okay? One thing I must emphasize is during a transition, don't force anything, okay? Don't force anything. If you're not feeling it, like if you're not feeling like hanging out, if you're not feeling like going to this place, if you're not feeling it, don't force it, because that is going to actually hinder your transitional period and cause you to stay in it longer than you need to. You're also going to have to become okay with saying no to people if Abba Yah hasn't unctioned you, okay? And I know that for some people, especially if you're a giver, this is going to be a challenge because you're so used to being there all the time. You're always on go, you're always on call. But you're going to have to learn how to say no if he hasn't unctioned you to go do whatever it is that's being asked of you. And you're going to have to be okay with it. But before you say yes, anytime anybody requests anything of you, should always pray about it before you take action. And do this consistently until your discernment increases to the point when you know when it's Ruach HaKodesh unctioning you or when it's just you being your natural helpful self. Because sometimes your natural helpful self will lead you into situations that Abba Yahuwah never intended for you to be in, and the enemy knows this as well. So the most recent transition I went through enabled me to be okay with people not agreeing with me. This was something I had a challenge with people not agreeing with me. Like I always felt like, no, you got to get this, you got to understand, you got to see it. And now I'm like, okay, well, I'm okay with you not agreeing with me. I started realizing that arguments were popping up all around me. But if I had spoken Yahuwah's truth and there was still a rebuttal from the other person, that they weren't disagreeing with me, but they were disagreeing with Yahuwah. And again, this may be something that some of you already have learned how to do, but I hadn't yet. And it brought me so much peace just being like, okay, well, I spoke the truth. I spoke it in love. If they didn't receive it, then there's nothing more that I can do at this point. In doing so, in removing myself from this disagreement, it also taught me how to hear the spirit and not the person, because the spirits really do speak through people, you guys. Okay. So when a person is rebuttaling the truth of Yahuwah that you spoke, understand that's not that person, that's the flesh, or it's the spirit. So when you remove yourself from it and you stop allowing yourself to take their objection personally, you'll begin to actually hear what it is that they have going on with them. You'll hear what it is that they need. And sometimes you might have to remove yourself and then go away and pray, or you could just ask them in the moment if you feel led by Ruach HaKodesh, hey, can I pray with you? Because I cannot emphasize enough how vulnerable you're going to be during your transitional period. The best way to kind of describe a transitional period is kind of like, so I have a 5-year-old son and he's been going through these growth spurts. So typically he doesn't eat a whole lot. I mean, he doesn't eat a little. He just eats about average for an average person. But during his growth spurts, I realized that he starts to sleep more. He also starts to eat more. He's a little more clingy towards me. And then his interests and hobbies begin to shift. In a nutshell, he's maturing. And that's exactly what this transition, or these transitions that we go through between seasons, are actually doing. The transitional period is actually meant to prepare you for the season that you're about to step into. Your transition may teach you something else other than what I spoke about, but just remember the practical steps of surviving this transition, which are draw near to Abba Yah, fast, pray, confess your sin in honesty, listen to his instructions, rest, and I mean true rest. And during the time that you're resting, you're going to be praising and worshiping like never before. And then wait on Ruach HaKodesh. There you have it, your transition instructions. And again, this is not an exhaustive list of practical applications on surviving your transition. This is just what Ruach HaKodesh has showed me through my own transitions, I should say. But I pray that this helped you. And if you should find yourself in a transition, I would love to hear about what Ruach HaKodesh spoke to you, or the different things that you experience. And also, if you would just like prayer, feel free to email me at replenishme@gmail.com. That's RIPLENISH me@gmail.com. And yeah, we can chat about this. I would love to hear about what he might have spoken to you, or something different that you might be able to add to this list. Because, I mean, we can always do a part 2 to this episode. I mean, there's no rules on these things. All right, I'm about to get out of here, you guys. So I love you. Until next time, Shalom Aleichem, Bahashem Yahusha HaMashiach.